Alright, returning once again to day 2 of the LJL Summer Split Week 3. Coming up next, coming up first for today, we have AXIZ taking on Sengoku Gaming. Now, we came out of a pretty exciting week, or pretty exciting day for week 3 yesterday. We did see DFM versus V3, which was an amazing series. We saw and a couple of the other, or DFM's other game against Burning Core also had some highlights in it. Both games actually, a lot of very good playmaking. Just a lot of very hype moments. A lot of players kind of really stepping up to bat. And it's one of those things that when I watch, I get very hopeful for when I'm looking at these teams. You know, we're finally back in the offline environment, and you can see that kind of hunger and what that unlocks in these players' potential when they're making these huge plays to win team fights, when you're just watching the overall teams starting to come together, have that cohesive unit mentality and play that's needed for teams at their level. We're hoping that kind of trend continues going on into these next few games, as AXIZ is going to be taking on Sengoku. Now, this as a match is a little bit of an interesting one, as it's very heavily Sengoku favored, just due to place of standings. AXIZ still looking to get their first win of the split. That being said, this is pretty important for Sengoku because this is effectively one of their easier weeks as far in terms of matchups. So, or this is one of their this is their easier matchup of the week. So, getting this win is going to be important for keeping pace with DFM, who did drop a game to V3 Esports earlier yesterday. So this is a very important match as far as Sengoku needing to keep their record up if they want to keep into second place. Both Sengoku and CGA play today. So with DFM finishing 4-2 yesterday, both of these teams have opportunity to either pull out the lead against DFM or to start to slip and fall behind, and we'll see where the break points happen for each team. That being said, for this game, AXIZ versus Sengoku. Now, like we always talk about in this matchup, Pyrian all-star mid laner, very well known for his play across pretty much the entire split, as well as AXIZ. AXIZ has kind of had a bit of an interesting time throughout this split. It's kind of been a bit rough for them. One thing is that they did have a coach swap coming into this split, so that's sort of that can kind of shake a lot of things up, as well as having some rookies. It really changes the team dynamic when you change your coach. You know, you have different influences, different points he's focusing on, as well as Natsume being new to the top lane, who has shown up fairly decently throughout the split so far. But that being said, AXIZ is still kind of, they haven't brought it all together. And while yesterday, or in the weeks prior, we were criticizing teams like DFM for having those kinds of issues, this is where I want to see AXIZ hopefully do what DFM did yesterday. We're back offline. We're bringing the teams together. We're bringing back that cohesive unit, and we'll see what we're able to do now that the opportunity for offline play is open to them. As well, for Sengoku, I am somewhat curious to see if NT will be repeating the performance of a lot of the supports from yesterday. We had a ton of playmaking supports yesterday. between outstanding thresh hooks, amazing set support engages and re-engages coming out. There was a lot of highlight moments from yesterday of a lot of the engages or, you know, the playmakers really kind of stretching their wings now that they're back in the offline format. And I'm hoping that and personally, NT is somebody I always look at as a player who can pull that kind of thing off. Definitely a player that has playmaking potential. We've seen it before. The other one, of course, is Pyrion in the mid lane. Always a fan of him. We did see. I always think back to his spring split pop off. He had that he really kind of drove home the fear of LeBlanc coming out in the LJL. Is almost personally responsible for a lot of the bans that LeBlanc has accrued over the past split or so, and rightfully so, as he's had some pretty outstanding performances on it. Meanwhile, on the side of Jungle and on the side of AXIZ, I look towards Hoglet as one of the sort of playmaking players. I know Hoglet has had a little bit of distress in champion pool, as far as kind of still a little bit stuck in the ways of Rek'Sai and things like that. That being said, he has proven himself on Lee Sin in the past. And then for AXIZ, I particularly enjoy Unyan and Corporal. I think Corporal is a phenomenal support. I think he has a great map presence overall. As well as Unyan, I think is just a very consistent ADC. And I really look forward to seeing what they're able to do, especially with the way that we've kind of been seeing ADs other than Aphelios kind of going in different directions. We've seen some Ezreals. We've seen just various different kinds of ways that we're battling the bot lane menace of Aphelios at the moment. We even did see Varus making it through the draft yesterday, getting into pro play. But it was a lethality Varus, and that of course is very scary, but they kind of didn't all in on it. They almost didn't act like they were expecting to get it, and they didn't seem prepared to play it. So I'm curious if any other teams are going to be kind of looking to do that as well for this week. If we're going to see any Varuses hit the field, it definitely feels like the teams know who you can let have lethality Varus and who you should be definitely blocking it away from, but we'll see if AXIZ are going to be able to show up in this game, as we're still waiting to get things started up here. And one thing I do kind of want to talk about a little bit is Natsume versus Oppamin in the top lane. Oppamin has always kind of been one of those top laners that I've kind of looked at as there almost is a top lane kind of issue in the LJL that commonly comes out, where a lot of the LJL top laners, when they're on a lot of tanks, Ornn specifically, I know, was super guilty of this. Just a lot of tanks kind of getting caught out too far up in the lane. Oppamin and Cogcog, I know, were both top laners that had huge issues with that in the past, so I'd hope now that we're getting a couple other tanks cycling into the meta, Maokai starting to come back a little bit, we're gonna see some more play of just a little bit more passive, respecting a little bit more gank opportunities, especially given the pivots in the jungle pool overall. But of course, that did come alongside a lot of changes for champions like Renekton, like Wukong, and Jace has also been kind of coming back into the meta. Champions that are all very keen on fighting in the top lane. So perhaps the meta will lend more than the player adjustments themselves, as We're waiting to get things started up here. Corporal there giving a thumbs up to the camera. The, I believe, French support, if I'm not mistaken. But has been with AXIZ for a decent amount of time, and I believe should be here at least. She should be with the team for some time after. Definitely has had quite some performances where definitely could be getting looked at as we're just still waiting to get everything started up here. It's good to see AXIZ loose and enjoying themselves. It is, you know, the sort of second half of the bracket. It's going to be their first time, or their first game up to bat for both teams here today. One thing I am curious about, especially coming out of Sengoku, is how they'll move, or how they'll sort of navigate themselves into a lot of these heavy team fight comps. Sengoku is definitely one of those teams that I look at, and I always think of, this is a team that wants to draft Aphelios. This is a team that wants to play for the team fight portion. That isn't to say that they're not capable of a lot of the more aggressive styles, but I feel like we've seen such great performances on them. And I'm hoping that, definitely, as far as the bot lane is concerned for Yutori Mayashi and NT, one of the things that kind of was their undoing in the Spring Split Finals versus DFM was just playing frustrated, and there was a lot of moments where Yutori Mayashi or NT were just kind of getting blown up before fights could even really begin. And that was sort of something that I looked at them for, and it was a little bit confusing to watch, as it almost just felt like after Game 3, Game 4, their mentals were just imploded. They were just playing frustrated. And I'm hoping that's not something that will persist through this team, especially after they did lose to V3 in a fairly close series, but will remain to be seen for now. We'll be just biding our time until things get started up here. While we're waiting on that, do just want to go over once again for everyone tuning in, if you guys are interested, or if you guys would like to help me out, go ahead and anytime you see a play you particularly enjoy or anything like that, go ahead and clip it and hold on to that one, because I'm going to be looking for plays of the week. I'm going to be doing that as a video segment that I'm working on later this week with Reapermeister. Expect that to be coming out sometime this week, but if there's any plays that you guys particularly enjoyed seeing, feel free to clip them and send them my way, because always looking to kind of see what plays are getting you guys excited, what plays, you know, are making you guys jump out of your seat, because there was a number of them yesterday. And we did see yesterday as well a couple of the game highlights for the the highlight nominees of each week in the week 1, week 2 section of yesterday, which did feature the Renekton outplay of Paz in the top lane, as well as the Kindred solo onto Varus, coming over the wall for that one later on in that game.
多分皆さんが思ってるより高いです。まあどう思ってるかわかんないですけど思ってる以上に高い。まあそれだけやっぱり長いことやってるっていうのもあると思うんですけど、っていうのに加えて、まあ、ワンシーズン休んだわけじゃないですか。でそれから帰ってきてからの課題がこのアグレッシブ。
Up next, just to go over a little bit of the schedule while we have you guys all here and we have a little bit of time to go over it. AXIZ is going to be taking on Sengoku in game 1. Then we have Rascal Jester going to be up to bat against AXIZ immediately following this one. CGA going to be taking on Rascal Jester after that, and Sengoku versus CGA to close things out. And I think that's going to be one of the exciting games of the... I think that's the highlight game of this week, or excuse me, this day. I hope my voice holds up that long, as I know yesterday was... There's a lot to get hype about it, but for this game, AXIZ versus Sengoku, coming into this one, we're gonna go right into picks and bans here. We got a couple options on deck, starting things off with a Karma ban on the side of AXIZ. Karma has definitely been one of the champions that has just kind of completely left the stage and really has been relegated only to the ban table, but understandably so, as it has so much flex opportunities. It can completely neutralize melee matchups in the top lane. It's a decent mid laner that pushes your team into the later stages of the game, or just pairs so well alongside a lot of the other poke options in the bot lane. Kind of a master of different flex opportunities there. While Varus and Kalista both going to be banned away, AXIZ actually going for the Aatrox ban is a little bit interesting. Typically not a champion that we see banned very often. Is more of a... Usually we see, if we do see top laner bans, they usually come in on the later half of the draft. But AXIZ know what they don't want to play into, and Yuumi also going to be meeting that table. I do enjoy the Yuumi ban. It's a little bit more direct than, or a little bit more indirect than just outright banning Ezreal. Typically it's seen alongside, typically partner in crime to Yuumi, Ezreal, very, very strong, but kind of removes Yuumi from being that catalyst for any other champion in the game as well. Commonly paired along things like Olaf, or Wukongs, or anything of that nature, as AXIZ is going to be picking themselves. And Aphelios up here towards the top side, while Sengoku, Ezreal likely to pick up the other premier ADC, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Sengoku ended up going for Ezreal and Bard here. Likely won't be seeing the Bard right away, but I would expect to see Sengoku picking that option up, as the Bard Ezreal, very just high potency lane, decent damage, decent amount of poke, and Bard just offers such great roam potential alongside the Twisted Fate. But AXIZ are going to blind pick the Bear, which does have a decent amount of flex opportunity, can be moved to either top or jungle, so is kind of nice there, although typically more seen to the top lane, as Volibear does kind of have issues of falling off towards the later stages of the game if he doesn't have enough gold in him. But Pantheon as well going to be picked up here by AXIZ, trying to hide their hand as much as possible in this early half of the draft, and doing it okay so far. Very good amount of engage coming out between the two of them. You can send the Pantheon in. He's enough of a distraction without being a liability for the Bear to get close enough to start doing damage. While Blank going to be given the Lee Sin over in the jungle. Now, on the side of Sengoku, you can kind of ban away a couple supports that you don't plan on playing if you want, or the trade-off would be that AXIZ can send the Pantheon into the bot lane for support, although it's not exactly a great pairing alongside Aphelios, so banning Nidalee away is the play for now. But Your jungler is already locked. You're already pretty much set up there. Banning Nidalee is a little bit interesting because as it stands right now, AXIZ already has 2 champions that can easily be put into the jungle, while AXIZ, their second half bans are very clearly defined here. You can attack the support role or the mid lane as well. Mid lane kind of open to both sides here, but Sengoku will be the ones that can afford. Sengoku are the ones that can afford to have, excuse me, can't afford some mid lane bans, as they'll have the counter pick advantage going forward, as Elise and Wukong both going to be rounding out the bans here. Set still available. Sengoku going to be eyeing that one up. Will be sent up to the top lane. Could be flex into the support role depending on what they see for the matchup, and I do like the set there. Sort of leaves themselves open now as their mid laner's already locked in here for the Twisted Fate. Azir going to be locked in there now as AXIZ picking up quite the team fighting comp. A lot of late game damage coming out. And the Trundle to round things off. I appreciate the late game Trundle, or the late in the pick phase Trundle. Isn't an amazing matchup into Lee. But speaking of matchups, Camille is going to be locked in here for Sengoku. Going to be sending that one up towards the top side with a set support down in bot. Now, Sengoku, I definitely feel like got the better end of this draft in terms of the bot lane priority. You sent the, you forced the Pantheon down there once you confirm that he is going into the support role, and set a great option into it. Easily gets a stun off of any Pantheon engages. Very easy for him to kind of pull around and disrupt a Pantheon trying to kite away. That being said, this game gets put on a clock very, very quickly, and a clock that AXIZ are just going to wait out for the most part between an Azir and an Aphelios. The challenge, of course, will be getting that far. We'll see how things go. I am curious about this top lane matchup. Given that it is a Volibear into the top lane, and Opperman seemed fairly confident to be locking in the Camille on the top side there. It's an interesting one to be sure. And in the 1v1 is not a terrible option. Does get extra true damage, which is somewhat nice. Although the interesting thing is that Volibear, the ulti on Voli gives you a lot of just raw HP. It doesn't give you a ton of, it doesn't give you any resistances, if I'm not mistaken. Just kind of gives you a raw brick of HP, which is about the only counter you can really have into true damage. So not a bad option, as both top laners opting for Grasp here. That little extra, expecting lane trades and looking to get a little extra healing when doing so. Meanwhile, fairly, just the particularly standard runes all the way across. We have not seen a whole lot of either Predator Trundles or the Phase Rush Trundles coming out since the W nerfs. Most junglers still seem fairly comfortable to keep their picks set. In this matchup specifically, I don't actually mind the PTA as much. If you do ever end up in a scrapping situation against Lee Sin, you're definitely going to want it, and Trundle is just such a good user of it. Well, Opperman and Natsume, I'm curious, this is going to be the matchup I want to look at the most, as Natsume did actually opt for a Doran's Ring star on the top side. adds a little extra damage to his passive and to his E shield. We'll see what kind of a difference that makes, and that's a note that does come up now that we're seeing Volibears kind of grace their way into pro play. Is Volibear is one of those champions. NT gets chunked up a little bit as passive to regen, so he's not too worried. But Volibear is one of those champions that has so many ratios in his kit that it's very easy for him to kind of make use of any starting item. He enjoys HP, he enjoys AD, he enjoys attack speed, and he does enjoy AP as well. So the Doran's Ring, not a bad idea to be going into here, as we're going to be taking a brief pause.
それに対して、相手が殴れるレンジというのはこちらも殴れるレンジなので、物理的にスタックも溜めやすいです。発動させやすいというので選択したのかなという印象が強いですね。なるほど。さあ、そしてミッドレーンガリアルリーサルテンポに対して。So while we're enjoying a pause, I did get the stat page pulled up here. Let me double check it. これによって下手をするとレベル6の前にテレポートでガンクしたりだとか、あともうテレポートない時間帯はゴーストにしてアルティメットがないのにもかかわらずサイドで影響を出したりだとか。Yeah, the passive does have AP damage built into that one, and so that one is magic damage. His Q is AD. His W, I believe, also has is also AD, but then his E turns into a bigger shield, as well as a little extra damage on that. Although it's typically hard to get the E damage off, especially into a champion like Camille that has a number of ways to kind of dodge out on things. And that is one of the other things that does kind of come up in this matchup is Camille especially has that adaptive shield, and the damage coming out from the AP sources kind of meshes with that and could lead Opperman into kind of getting caught up a bit by extra damage from the AD department of W. So a very unique part of the matchup specifically that we might end up seeing out here is Blank and Pyrian wandering up towards the crab, securing that one for themselves, as Hoglet did have to clear away that ward before he was able to get anything on that one. But knowing where he is, Corporal and Hoglet looking to just get some info on where he's been throughout the clears so far, and for the most part, gonna be a fairly lackadaisical point, unless of course any solo kills really happen, or if Blank is going to be getting anything started up in the early parts of this game. But when it really comes to these level 6 plays, you'd expect to see Sengoku trying to assert themselves more in this kind of a game, especially when it comes to moving around, so many teleports, so many champions with mobile abilities. You really need to be on the map early to secure a lot of these early objectives. Cloud Drake as well, going to be on the map right now, means less likelihood that a little bit worse for wear soul is here, as NT might be in a bit deep there. Kind of stayed in to get the W damage off and ended up burning his flash and Yutorimayashi's heal for it. Corporal did throw Ignite down onto him, but a little bit of an interesting one from NT. I think he just kind of greeted out a little bit too long for damage. Thought he would be able to use Phase Rush, but then at that point, he kind of stayed in the fight so long that Phase Rush had already fallen off. Either way, it's definitely just one of those, maybe I shouldn't be here, but Yutorimi actually was able to trade a decent amount of damage back off of that and did force the back from Unyan. So a flash for a back is not a bad deal if they're able to get this wave under turret, while Opperman's going to be going for an extended trade here. Natsume's going to have second W here. Opperman might just be dead if he doesn't flash the W. Barely avoids getting killed by that one. The second W damage comes in, and that was what I was talking about, where
if Opperman got an AD shield there, he might have been able to drag that fight out a little bit longer. But once he gets an AP shield, he can't really stand there and scrap alongside the Volibear, which is a weirdly particular part of this matchup that doesn't exactly come up, that I probably didn't come up when Opperman was thinking about the Camille pick. But that's going to be the Doran's Ring putting in work there. Meanwhile, Natsume going to be getting up a two cloth armors and boots, bringing himself back into the lane. But Opperman going to be coming back with a Sheen, so looking to kind of hopefully have enough damage to burn through the bear. Well, Natsume is going for heal cut early on here. Without Opperman having Conquer, it's not the most amount of healing in the world that you need to worry about, so possibly could have gone for an early bombies just to proc that off of Q, but of course there is always the monetary issue of what you're getting off of that first back. He does get the luxury of saving his teleport in this scenario, so we'll be able to retain that moving forward, especially if he can take a couple bad trades at this point, still come back a little bit later. Meanwhile, across most of the lanes, the CS is staying fairly consistent except for top lane, who does have a wave to pick up. Or Natsume does have a wave to pick up here, which will help even it out a bit, but there's almost still going to be about a 20 CS difference. So Natsume getting the better end of that play was really more so Opperman kind of forcing that situation. Had the solo kill come through, it definitely would have been good for Natsume, but given the current state, it's very difficult for him to try and trying to recover this gold differential, as Oglet might just be looking for exactly that. Gonna be going over here to the Rift Herald. But you can see pings from Sengoku. They know he's going to be on this. Making their way towards it now. You can see Lee Sin rotating, and both bot lanes are in tow. Corporal's gonna be first to show up on this one. How are things gonna go down? That's a 4k HP and burning fast Rift Herald. Blank is likely going to be looking for a steal opportunity. Sonic Wave's not going to land, so he's going to miss that one. As a Q smite comes in, Hoglet going to be taking that one away and getting out in time, as Unyan and Corporal look to just stick up towards the top side, shove in a couple waves, and hopefully help out their friendly Volibear now. Sengoku wandering up here. Couple pings coming out here. They might just be looking to entertain the lane swap to the top side here. Although there is an opportunity for Twisted Fate to make it an appearance with the ultimate if he has the time. Although given his current build, not exactly the most amount of damage coming out from the Twisted Fate just yet. Really is going to be reliant on a lot of the CC from his teammates, as Angie's going to get the move speed bonus from the Hex Flash. Unyan going to flash away from the face breaker there. As now Natsume's coming in. There goes the ultimate. The W is going to do a lot of damage to Natsume, but Blank's going to be the one going down. Ignite should just burn him through. He's barely going to live. About 6 HP onto Blank. Narrowly avoiding that one, as Natsume was forced to burn his summoners as well to get away from that. What a bit by the skin of his teeth. Blank is going to be able to get out of that one. AXIZ should just be able to capitalize with little extra gold in their pocket from this Rift Herald play. But a risky one at that. That was a very, very close play. And now Opperman on the bottom side of things here continues his duel with Natsume. Still working on getting his pieces of the Trinity Force all together. Interestingly enough, Opperman not going for a Tiamat on the Camille. Very hard to match the pushing speed of Volibear, just due to having that passive, which sometimes serves as a detriment if you are trying to hold the lanes. But Natsume, having all that extra pushing power just inherently kind of makes it easier for him to fetch priority whenever an objective is coming up, and he might be looking to get something done here. As Gaidu's going to go in for the shuffle. Period has no really safe place to run. He has flash, but I think he got messed up a little bit there by the pathing as he started running around the wall downward to try and get back to his turret before turning around, and a clean shuffle from Gaidu is just going to end up giving AXIZ first blood. Pantheon going to be the one picking that kill up, which is a little bit unfortunate, but given that he's going into a lethality item here first, it looks like it's not a bad opportunity. But grabbing up 2 Drakes and with an Ocean Soul on the menu, opportunity presents itself. Yeah, so watch Pyrion here. He gets shuffled over the wall and just kind of walks towards the bear by accident, and then he realizes that's not exactly where he wants to be and soon turns around. But at that point, it's just too little too late. And Sengoku really needs to start looking to make some plays happen, as this is not a comp that they can really play the waiting game against. But it just doesn't seem like Sengoku have been available enough to make plays happen and to really punish anything on the side of AXIZ. They got lucky that Blank didn't die on that topside play, but it's never a good sign when you're looking for an opportunity and it's way closer that nobody on your end dies than it is for the enemy team to get a kill on you. Now, with Herald being the next point of order, and we had seen Sengoku just a beat too late to get to the contest on that one, I wouldn't be surprised if this is where Sengoku are trying to find a little bit of life here around this objective play. Will remain to be seen for now, as lane states have turned back to normal across the rift. But with an early shove over here by Yutorabayashi, they might be looking up into the river here. Finding a troll is not exactly what they'd be looking for, but Blank wandering around here. A couple pings coming out. They did see Hoglet off of that entrance bush over there, and Corporal wandering up here. Blank lands a Sonic Wave, looking to just try and chase and zone away to see what he can get as far as information of where Hoglet plans to go next. But was an opportunity actually for AXIZ if they realized how far up he had gone, but vision control in the side of Sengoku was definitely a risky play for Blank to be chasing even as far as he did, as now he's looking around, he's kind of shopping around AXIZ's jungle without any real information. Possibly a play opportunity onto the bot side here. Unyon is now alone under turret. Corporal actually took a terrible path and can offer nothing for his support, as now the teleport comes in from Garaidu, but he's really just teleporting into his own demise. Corporal kind of hung his AD out to dry there, and there was nowhere he could really run. Of course, they don't know that Blank is wandering around their jungle there. But that just felt like complete and utter disarray. Corporal was in no position to offer any assistance there. And Garaidu makes the call to teleport in, but at that point, it's already too late there. As Corporal wanders up here, here comes the Fate's call from the Twisted Fate. Cleanses off the stun, but there's nowhere near enough. And at that point, teleport already channeled. Welcome to Season 10. There's no canceling that teleport, as Garaidu ends up going down in the bottom lane as well. Yutomi actually picking up both of those kills. And there is one thing to note that although AXIZ has been getting the better end of objectives early on in this map, Sengoku, they did get 2 kills, but I believe also they just have quite a number of turret plates on the side of AXIZ. Looking at about a 4k gold advantage, or a 3k gold advantage rather. This early on in the game is just testament to that AXIZ has not really been able to assert themselves as far up in the map as they'd like. But if Sengoku are able to keep plays going like that, they'll find a way to victory there, as Hoglet wandering around here, trying to clear away some of the Dragon for the ocean, or Vision for the Ocean Drake, but needs to be a bit careful. Guraidu barely going to miss out on that one, and the stun is good. That's the risky part of shuffling, as Opperman forced to flash away now, gets himself to safety. There goes the suplex, the E in on 3 of them now, as Union's gonna get soloed off towards the top side, Pyrion chasing him down. Hoglet taking a huge amount of damage from the face breaker, as Opperman should just be able to chase them down with the Phage move speed bonus. Natsume not gonna get away from that one. The Hextech ultimatum is locking people up and allowing Sengoku to knock them down as they find quite a clean team fight there. That's the risky part for Guraidu. If you are going for those kind of shuffle plays, you still expose yourself so far into enemy lines, and with Pyrion just having such free access to point-and-click CC, Guraidu really needs to be careful about exactly how far he's going to make plays. We'll watch this one more time. So NT walks up to kind of get things started. They're looking for an opportunity onto Hoglet. There goes Guraidu. He gets flashed away, and then at that point, you are just in so far into the lines of Sengoku that there is going to be no escape there, and Pyrion just kind of walks Union down. He knows he doesn't have the items to really deal with him just yet. Great fight found for Sengoku. Although the risky part is, of course, this comp will continue to scale, so Sengoku will need a few more performances like that to drive this one home, as now the flash with the shuffle is going to be good. No flash on Yutoto Miyashi to get away from that one now. Pyrion teleports into the mid lane, gonna do his best to save this one, but don't imagine he'll be able to do just that. Shelly's gonna do most of the heavy lifting on that mid lane outer turret. As the second charge goes in, the rest of Sengoku should just be able to pick up the wave in relative safety. Now for the side of AXIZ, very good play, and I like that Guraidu's looking for playmaking opportunities with his ultimate. That being said, I begin to worry a little bit for him, as I appreciate that Guraidu was, you had the play punished, and then you're immediately willing to go for it again, knowing you have flash advantage. But mistakes like that are going to cost you, as now Guraidu has no flash to get away from that one. Hoglet's going to be here to try and save anything from this one. Not going to be able to complete the dive onto 2 of them, as Natsume shows up there to help his friend. Sengoku finding a great pick, which is exactly what their comp wants to do. You want to find out any members that are just wandering a bit out of where they should and mobilize your forces on top of them. Now, unfortunate for Sengoku is that these picks are going to need to be centered around objective times for a decent while, as they have a number of Ocean Drakes to really get through if they want to have a shot at Soul. That being said, for the side of Sengoku, they do have kind of the momentum going for them at the moment, as ND is just enjoying his time with Hex Flash, really just looking for anywhere he can possibly be looking to make plays. But for now, momentum is in Sengoku's favor alongside a almost 6k gold advantage. They'll need to kind of leverage this before Unyan starts getting towards his items, because eventually one stun from Pyrion is just not going to be enough to knock him down. As well as Ezreal typically going for the more tanky build, the little bit more survivable build. It's typically difficult for him to burst targets through the same way he does with a Trin Borg. Still does a decent amount of damage, but it's a lot more chase down oriented. While the rest of Sengoku's comp can't really go into melee range of Unyan in the later stages of this game. Opperman waiting for his turn at the wave on the bottom side. Going to be getting that one up immediately after, growing his CS lead, almost 50 gold advantage now. Opperman definitely getting the slow and steady victory of the top lane matchup there. Not a lot of kills, but assists elsewhere on the map, and then just slowly starting to build enough of a gold lead that you're looking down Trinity Force while they're only just completing theirs now. Ocean Drake spawning up in about 10 seconds, and both teams are making their way down to it. Totomi actually going to be doing his best to just try and zone away with spells for now. Throws the ultimate. Will help kind of burn out the waves, but there comes the Grand Skyfall in an odd direction. Corporal kind of throwing himself at the bottom side, but Enti's going to be the one who's throwing everybody into the pile here. The wall kind of ends up giving Sengoku a great out towards the bottom end of that fight, while the rest of AXIZ end up getting routed by Pyrion and Opperman. Sengoku just kind of ran them down in that aspect, and a huge amount of disconnect from AXIZ there, as Gadaidu, his ultimate kind of gave the rest of Sengoku an out that allowed them to just blow up Natsume, and meanwhile, the rest of their comp is just not in pace as far as gold to initiate a fight like that. It was a bit of a disconnect from the side of AXIZ. Not exactly recognizing how far they are behind. We'll watch this one more time. So here comes Enti. He goes in with the Flash E. Pulls Gadaidu across, and then the R goes down, and it zones AXIZ from everyone else. Natsume goes all in with the ultimate just to try and buy his team space. But at that point, you've already kind of been funneled awkwardly into this huddle. Now an immediate fight is going to be breaking out again. Hoglet going golden there is going to be immediately going down, following through that sonic wave as Opperman has an opportunity at escape here, trying to get a slow off onto Unyan. Flamethrower going to be dealing a decent amount of damage as Unyan pops cleanse. Not going to be enough to get away from Pyrion there in the mid lane. Blue card up. Gadaidu is going to be able to get out of that one. Throwing spells. Ezreal might be able to find him with the Q. Flashes away just in time. And now all Sengoku really need to do is wait for the next minion wave. Pyrion already ahead of the game plan onto this bottom turret. This is Sengoku's game to take home. And this is sort of an interesting one, as Sengoku definitely kind of played the early game a little bit slow, which was understandable. Your champions don't exactly do the most amount of damage, and the one sure way that you're going to put yourself out of the game is botching some early plays. So they held off and were very reserved into the later portions of the game. Meanwhile, AXIZ kind of were a little bit over ambitious in looking for plays, and it ended up kind of costing them in terms of Gadaidu just kind of taking multiple all-ins that were sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. And when you're playing a champion like Azir, patience is just kind of something you can afford. You don't have to use the fancy shuffles. You can easily just use the ultimate to send back Enti before he's able to start suplexing into your team comp. As Blank is just going to get found in the jungle there. Corporal with a good stun, but Blank going to dash away to safety, mashing that W key to try to get out of that one. Meanwhile, Sengoku up towards the Baron side here. Corporal, a little bit risky there. Corporal, the rest of AXIZ definitely feel like they're in a position to just be sending in on a lot of these fights, looking for them with the Grand Skyfall wherever they get their opportunity. It's costing them a lot in terms of structure damage, as the demolition team Sengoku are trying to operate all 3 lanes at the same time. Baron going down, but a 5k gold advantage accrued. As Pyrian looking for an opportunity onto the inhibitor here. Opperman going to be drawing out some pressure up towards the top side. No more Baron means that Garaidu will just be able to kind of shred some of those waves a bit. While the rest of Sengoku walking down here, trying to find ways onto this inhibitor. As the rest of the team is zoning. Really, the split push Camille, what she's known for best, will allow the inhibitor to fall on the bottom side there. Meanwhile, Yotonomeyashi just slinging Mystic shots whenever and wherever he can. Baron coming up in again about 2 minutes now, so Sengoku definitely can take just a free reset if they like. Wait for their next opportunity to go at the Baron. For the side of AXIZ, I would have honestly kind of preferred if they weren't as aggressive on a lot of these objectives as they were. The time spent kind of sending Unyon around the map really started to pay their own detriment, but also I almost feel as if the early parts of this draft, once you pick an Aphelios, you don't exactly need a Pantheon. You might as well pick something that can scale or that can peel a bit better, instead of trying to look for him as an engage tool. And if not, why not just grab Nautilus of all things? Just talking of food for thought, as Opperman thinking about getting away from that gank opportunity, as here comes a Grand Skyfall once again. It's been a lot of flying in and running away for Corporal, as he's not able to cancel that ultimate. Must see that one through to the end, as the rest of AXIZ are trying to look and wait around, see if they can find any unsuspecting Sengoku members. But with Baron coming up in 20, they have no real need to be on the bottom end of the map here. What, Sengoku at a 14k gold advantage. This is pretty much all she wrote for this one, and which is sort of why I kind of like to look back at the draft and really try to like assess where did this game go for Sengoku. So right now it seems to be going towards the Baron, but going slowly. Not that they have any worry of AXIZ really going for a contest opportunity. They can take an Ocean Drake if they so choose, just try and get soul point, but likely won't be seeing that 5-minute mark being reached again so that they can acquire an Ocean Soul. Before the side of AXIZ, I would have honestly liked to have seen them kind of play a little bit more of a draft for a couple more defensive opportunities. Corporal going to be burning his flash there. But sort of the disconnect here is the Bear and the Pantheon not exactly being very cohesive with Garaidu and Unyon. As well as the blind pick Bear just getting kind of opened up like a can in this one. The Bear actually going down 80 CS over the course of this game. Opperman seemed just prepared to have this one as the matchup, which is something you really need to worry about. The Bear may be good, but it is not exactly a blind pickable champion if you're not prepared to kind of walk into a lot of these counter pick opportunities that Sengoku has. As they also grab up their third Ocean Drake, just adding so much pressure to their siege, as they'll just be able to stand back and heal up with so much extra HP there. Meanwhile, the rest of AXIZ is going to be doing their best to hold on to their base. All they really need to be doing for now is just laying damage into that inhibitor turret. A huge arcane barrage. True shot barrage, excuse me. Goes ringing out across Unyan. I want somebody to go through these and just clip how many times I have botched which spell is which adjective on Ezreal. I'm sure I've done it 1,000 times, but what we have seen multiple times before is this kind of 1-3-1 split that Sengoku was doing here, just to bring as many Baron-empowered minions into the base as possible. The last of the inhibitors falling now. Pyrion picking up that one. There's all but the base left. Corporal is going to be one to start things off here, kiting back out with the E. The Moonlight Vigil just not going to do enough damage. There goes NT right into the arms of AXIZ. And with such large wallets, there's nothing that they really need to fear. This is all going according to plan, as Sengoku takes game 1 of day 2 here. An understandable loss for AXIZ, and a little bit unfortunate to now be going 0-5 in the split so far. AXIZ possibly just need to continue trying to work on getting everything on the same page, even from the draft point of view, but also trying to just get to the point where your playmaking was all on the same page. There's a lot of disconnected Grand Skyfall entrances, Godairu's ultimates kind of putting a weird divide in the fight that AXIZ was not able to take advantage of. And the reason I'm so I am a little bit more critical on that play in particular was because the idea, I'm sure, was making sense for Azir there. I'm going to split the fight this way, their carries will be over here, we can try to find something over here, but if your team is not prepared to capitalize off of it, and your team is not going to benefit from that kind of a play, then I worry if there's some kinds of communication issues going on there. You know, where is this disconnect that AXIZ is just not all on the same page? And when it starts in draft, you have to wonder where it all begins. But we'll be taking a brief break here. Sengoku going to enjoy their victory until their next game, while AXIZ are going to clear their heads and run up against Rascal Jester. The battle for 5th place. Don't go anywhere for that, as we'll have that one coming up next.